Cool.
And you should be able to share your screen. Oh,
All
we got
right.
more coming in. Sorry, Madison's coming in. She's from WebSan Solutions.
Nice. Well, I'll go ahead and kick it off. I'm Tori. I lead up Allbound's marketing initiatives here at Allbound and have been with the company for about a little over 4 years. I think my 4-year anniversary was this March. So it's in a startup world feels really fast, but also really slow at the same time. But I've learned a lot. Like you guys have been in the space. When I joined, it was very not as saturated as it is now, I feel like, with a lot of partner programs kind of coming up. Partner technology was like, what is partner technology to an extent? And now I feel like in this day and age, it's kind of necessary. And really partner programs in general, whatever partner types you're running, are necessary. So with that said, today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we've learned at Allbound. We have folks like you as our customers who we get to see what they're running as best practices. I am taking an angle of what we've done here at Allbound for our partner program and kind of how we lifted that off from scratch, what we've learned along the way, and then, how to really scale and grow. So to the repay folks, would love for this also to be interactive on areas where you guys have learned and, what has and has not worked well. But with that said, I guess kicking it off, I will share my screen. And feel free to ask questions
Yes.
along the way as well, and I'll try to answer
Unmute
them.
yourself, share your video, whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, so. All right, do you guys see the deck?
We see the deck.
Okay, great. So yeah, just running through again, would love for this to be interactive, but hitting on a few areas today. So, never selling alone, which is why we're all here, partnerships piece, getting buy-in, and even for the more, mature partner programs, what does buy-in look like to even scale and grow? Partner types, I think this is a big one now. We've seen a lot of great, analysis and success with some of our customers here that have done a really in-depth look at partner types, who the correct partners are and how to really work that, what the relationship stance looks like, and then I think most importantly, how to measure success here. So at Allbound, we believe in our name. You have inbound, outbound, and then you have allbound. So this is all forms and shapes of, partnering, co-selling. I've heard a lot of conversations lately about integration partners, like how do you even measure a tech partnership or an integration partner? There's so many different aspects to all of these different partner types. But at the end of the day, if you're co-selling, working a deal together with someone, your outcomes are better. We've seen a lot of stalling of deals, especially in these last couple months with just direct selling or, marketing. I'm on the chopping block a lot with, hey, what are you bringing in direct, and what's the CAC, what's the ROI? And when you look at it, bottom line, deals close faster when you're co-selling. They also have a higher close rate, and the CAC is better. So I think adding in all of these things is, bottom line to take to the board better, as well as how do you measure that? How do you actually prove success there? Is a key factor that we're hearing from a lot of our customers. And so at the end of the day, our philosophy here is we believe you should never sell alone. So how do you do that? One of the biggest pieces that we hear and see a lot in terms of challenges is getting buy-in. I'm curious here, has anyone had any struggles with buy-in, or, who does everyone kind of report into, and has it been tricky these last couple months or ever, within your roles?
Don't everyone speak at once.
I've had marketing report into the CMO as well as the CRO, and there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, if I was creating my own org, I would have partner marketing specifically roll into a channel chief that reports into the CRO or the CEO. I feel like that model, and I had that at one point. Amy was on a team with me, so was Kristen when we had that at a different company. That I felt like it worked really well because the alignment was there and we weren't getting mixed messaging from different sales leaders. We had one leader that was responsible for making sure that there was sales and marketing alignment between the various functions within the organizations. So
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense because that person would also carry a quota, I'm sure, and that they would, roll up under sales.
Yeah.
So right now at Repay, does marketing owns all of channel, all of partners, everything?
We report into what I would call, they're not a CRO. We used to report into CRO, but they got rid of that title at our company last fall. But we report into what would be like a CRO type function. So we don't have a channel chief, which causes challenges, of itself from a partner operations perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that is hard. It's hard with setting expectations clearly and forecasting effectively. So that definitely makes a difference. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else have any buy-in or departmental challenges or even success stories that they've seen?
The highest functioning for me, this is before Repay at a different type of company, was the marketing department had a CMO that was on the same level as the CFO, the CTO, and your COO. So marketing is expensive and there's IT and there's people and processes and technologies. And that was probably one of the more intense marketing programs I've ever been a part of. There was a division for channel and product, et cetera, just like you see in the normal marketing mix. But that was probably the first time, or actually not very often, where you see a CMO be at the same level as your CFO and your CTO. And it was stressful, but it was also fantastic because the line of sight, the transparency, the old saying where we don't know what marketing's doing, they're in a silo, they do whatever, these crazy marketing people. And that went away, all that fell away, and it was great. And the other end of the spectrum, I've reported directly into the president of sales. All of marketing did, which was the dragon in the tail. So so that was probably one of the it was exciting, but it was also not very impactful because of the marketing team was the tail of that dragon. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, if you line it up correctly, like your CMO alignment, and you have that buy-in at the top, I think that really makes a difference. And it's hard. Like sometimes I've been in organizations where it's like a CEO and then like a CFO, and then everyone else is like director or VP, and it's hard to get that. Here's the forecasting, here's the buy-in, here's what we actually contribute. So if you have that all, I think it makes a lot of difference. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else?
I mean, I've worked for small companies like you just mentioned, where it's the CEO, CFO, and then everyone else, the directors. So it has its challenges, but it also makes it a little bit easier because there's not so much red tape. You kind of have more autonomy to do things and can get more done, so to speak, without having to get permission. And you just plan for the year, give them hey, this is my budget for the year. Okay, great, and go run with it. So
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I think it says something too, if you have those lower titles that are also senior folks, like you'll get more done. They're also individual contributors as well as, strategic. So, Whitney, I saw you come off mute. Did you have something to share?
Yeah, mine was just like a struggle I'd say that we've had is more on the product division. So the roll up to, your marketing leader, then your CEO, but it's more of a communication between the different product lines and the roles on those product lines, because that's kind of how ours is shaped right now, in a sense. So that's made it a little bit challenging and confusing rather than working in one solid unit. It's kind of made more segments for us, or silos, I guess.
So does marketing report under different units of product, or how does that work?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I don't think it's working, to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting, like from the partnership perspective, where I have seen that work is for like integration partners or tech partnerships where you have that buy-in already, and you have like, one thing I've learned is like product resources are so scarce that it's like, if you do want to build out an integration or like build this tech partnership, like you are already there with them. I do see it working in that instance. The demand gen piece is a little bit interesting to me.
Yeah,
but
no, I agree.
yeah. But no, thank you for sharing all of that. It sounds like we have a variety of different orgs and roll-ups. And I think that's the beauty of partnerships too, is like, we're now in this era of trying to make it more mainstream for the entire organization. And you actually do need the entire organization's buy-in versus just one department. And it's taking a lot of education. Like, sounds like we have a lot of marketers on the call here. I can sit with you and say, it's always I feel like a challenge to kind of prove out what we're doing as marketers and explaining nuances. I feel like that's the era of partnerships right now as well. Speaking from, firsthand experience, what we've kind of built here at Allbound and what we've seen work really well within our customers is, setting those expectations clearly. So who do we actually need to get buy-in from? Is it, the CRO that can influence the CEO, or, the CEO that can then influence every department, depending on who you roll up under, and then setting those expectations clearly. So I think, what I've heard recently is, how do you actually build a forecast or build these, pipeline goals that are realistic for, revenue targets. And I think we all know here that building a partnership or seeing any sort of revenue from partners can take a while. It's not an overnight thing, and it's not a direct response thing. So how do you set those expectations clearly? And even for, the more advanced, sophisticated partner folks, like, what are the expectations for adding on new partners or going into this new territory or region, whatever it may be? And then how do you, work that into what your model will be? The other piece that we've seen work really well is becoming friends with other departments in this sense. And I learned this through building right now the partner program at Allbound. Is there's a role for every department. And so our VP of CS is really helping with the retention side of partnerships. So she's owning a lot of the partners that will help with customer retention, upsells, that sort of piece. And so I have her buy-in for some of these initiatives. When we vet partners, I also don't bring a partner in without passing it by her. And she also has a final say on if that partner is a good fit or not. We're also really choosy with who we're bringing in right now, even though we're starting basically from scratch. We had one customer, UiPath, who came to us a couple years ago, and they had hundreds of partners. And then from using Allbound, realizing, hey, there's really only 20% of my partners that are actually generating revenue, they ended up firing a good amount of their partners and started focusing just on those partners that were generating pipeline, generating and closing with them. So figuring out who is, going to actually make a difference and using your time wisely is definitely a piece that other departments can play a role in. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions on this buy-in piece before we move on? Okay, great. So partner type, I think this goes hand in hand with what I was just mentioning. This is an example of, and I can open this so it's a bit bigger, but an example of how we have, internally, and by the way, Allbound has not, I'm on the record saying this, although we are a partner company, we have not had a sophisticated partner program. And so I and our VP of CS are kind of tackling this together along with our VP of product, who is helping us with that integrations piece. So we're actively working towards this right now. The way that we've gone about this is figuring out, okay, what is our actual focus from a partner perspective? Who are the key folks within that partner company? And then what type of partners are they? We've gone through this exercise. We revisit it internally week over week, and we constantly are making edits to this spreadsheet and how we're measuring success here. What are the KPIs? How do we move forward with them? And do we say no? And it's hard to say no. I had this conversation one time with someone at a partnership leaders event, actually, Kristen. And the question of the night was like, how do you break up with a partner, and how do you do that gracefully? And there's so much concern around breaking up with partners or saying no to a partner. I think that sometimes it can be a little daunting, but we've had to do that at the end of the day, and it ends up benefiting us in the long run. Do you guys here experience, saying no to partners? How do you turn down partners? Do you have a vetting process for that? What's been your experience here?
No to all of the above. Although there's been times where, you have those difficult partners that they're just difficult. So do you fire them? I don't know.
Yeah.
Has anybody had to do that?
Or they're very demanding.
Depends on how much revenue
They're
they're
not
bringing.
giving
Yeah,
you that much.
see? Yeah.
They're very demanding for not
Yeah.
giving you a lot.
I have.
You fired
done
one,
that.
Tristan?
Yeah, multiple.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, how do you do it?
Very direct, but as kind as possible.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, these are the changes. They may not agree. Like, I hear you, but these are the changes. And if you're not adhering to it, you don't want to be part of it. Totally understand. We're just going to cut ways. But the revenue you were seeing from us is no longer coming through if you decide to move forward that direction. No problem. We'll shake hands and walk away. But this is what the direction we're going. We'd love to have you continue to be on board. And this is the requirements needed to stay on board. Otherwise, we understand. We wish you well in your day and your business.
Yeah, it's easier to break up with somebody if it's clear, so when you do have a breakup, you simply go back and audit what your checklist was for recruiting a partner. Like,
Mhm.
how did I get myself into this situation? Like, force yourself to do a closed one review of a partner. Why did the breakup happen? How can I prevent this moving forward? So if there is, what was the conflict, and how can I build that into my recruitment criteria? So
Make it a part of your partner agreement as well. That'll
right,
help.
or make it part of the T's and C's. Yeah.
Yeah, constant evolution. That's right. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so as I've started doing this, I'm sure most of you guys do this too, or I'm curious if you do, find a partner, or if someone passes me a partner, like, what is the account mapping? What's the account overlap like? And from doing this a couple of times we've been able to figure out like who is someone that we could actually co-sell with or share something with, and is there enough there? I've had account overlaps where, you know, there's one deal in pipeline or we've shared one prospect, and it just is, you know, do we want to go this uphill battle, or, you know, could we find part ways and maybe find better partners? So this has been a step in our process that has been really helpful. Is it the only step? No, but it definitely is good to see even before we send a contract, which, by the way, we don't send a contract every time. A lot of our customers also have seen that to get a relationship started, you know, starting out organically or passing a deal, giving before receiving almost has been what we've heard lately, and then creating a contract based off of that initial couple weeks, couple months, whatever it is. But that is a practice that we don't do every single beginning of a relationship.
That's
do-
awesome. That's the direction we go. I like that.
Yeah.
as
Have
well.
you seen good success from that?
We have. It's trending better that direction because I don't know why, other than partners are more engaged that way, versus like, hey, let's go all the paperwork. It's more, hey, we have this product, you like it. Do you have customers in mind, or they're already thinking about that, like, hey, this could be a good fit, going with that flow versus, hey, let's get all this stuff in place, because
Mhm.
then the deal just becomes muddy, actually. So
Yeah.
getting to the deal or getting multiple deals, say, great, here, and then providing some margin. Hey, let's work out an agreement here.
Yeah. No, that's really good feedback. We've seen that work well too. I think that's, like I said, a lot of customer sentiment as well. Again, it depends on the partner type and relationship, but you know, for the majority of referral and some reseller co-selling, it's like, let's see what it's like and see if we can actually close one and then move forward with a formal agreement. Has anyone seen that not work well?
We don't typically like to, we take a slightly different approach. I mean, we've got partners that don't want to sign until they have that first deal, but I use access to the partner marketing team as a carrot for our partners to drive that demand, and they can't get access to that resource without a signed agreement. Now, we don't charge anything for our agreement, so there's no harm for them signing up, right? There's no commitment outside of just committing to what our terms are, right? But I feel like by getting them to commit, they're more willing to engage with us to help drive that demand that maybe isn't there yet.
That's really interesting. I like that. For the access to the marketing team, is that on co-marketed initiatives or just
Yes.
campaigns? Yeah, interesting. Okay.
And access to a partner portal and all of the above, right?
Right. Yeah, that's great. I like using the partner portal as like a thing with a
Carrot.
carrot. Yeah,
Yep.
that's very interesting. Okay. So then, you know, kind of going into maneuvering the relationship, and I think these can go many different ways depending on the relationship, depending on the status or tier of your partner as well. We've talked about a few of these things, but what we've seen work really well with our customers and also internally is really that maintaining the relationship. So we always joke that if you sign on a customer, maybe you bring them into your portal, but you really don't work the relationship, or you don't do anything to engage with them, you know, check in on them, work together with them, then it might not be as fruitful as you maybe thought it could be. So constantly nurturing them or engaging with them, whether that's meetings or bringing them onto like a partner, you know, webinar where they get partner access if they're a certain tier and you go through certain initiatives, you know, whatever it may be. But finding ways to engage them is what we've seen as a leading indicator work for the lagging indicators like pipeline and close one. So the engagement piece is crucial here. And then if you have multiple partners, several hundred, it's the question of, well, I think Liz, you said it, like who's bringing in revenue and how do you really tier that and learn these folks are bringing in the revenue. What are they doing? How do I teach the other partners how to fish and kind of up level them accordingly? So that's a big piece we've seen work really well. And then, how are you measuring success? So I think every partner could have different KPIs or different expectations. Do you both agree that these are the expectations next time we check in that we're going to achieve? How are we doing this quarterly, QBRs, whatever it may be? So those are a few things that we've seen work. Is there anything else that you guys feel has really made a difference when you meet with partners, or, you tried it, didn't really work?
I think making it easy as possible to work with, obviously. And then what's worked in the past is like providing them with marketing content so they don't have to create any on their own. I think is really helpful if they have a great marketing cadence, and if they let you put content in their emails or newsletters or social or whatever. But making it simple and easy, I find that that's really good. It'd be interesting to know from the group. So I see a lot of emails out there from like ISVs that are hosting like a giveaway I shouldn't say giveaway, almost like extra commission or extra referral margin if you sign up, or extra this. And I was wondering if anybody's tried that and if that's actually worked. Like some monetary amount for them to start working with you. I feel like that might be difficult with some partners because obviously they can't get monetary gifts. So I feel like it's like a sticky situation, and I didn't know if anybody was able to do that and do it successfully.
I have not.
We haven't either.
It almost feels like you're kind of like asking.
Yeah, it's like
you're a little desperate,
I
right?
can't tell you on the
I
value
know,
of
and
why you should work with me. Someone to pay you.
And I see
Yeah.
so many ISVs doing it, and I'm like, can it really be effective? Like, I just want to know. Maybe I should just ask them. Hey, I got this email. How is it? I want to know.
I think what helps is having a personal relationship. I know that's difficult, but
Yeah.
like finding some common ground that makes it more personal to where they feel bad not meeting with you too. Cause like, I do think bi-weekly syncs are great, but I do think that sometimes they feel like they owe, and that's part of it. Like they owe us something though for it. And it's like, hey, if we don't need to have the meeting, like have that, relationship with them to say, if we don't have anything to cover, no worries, let's not have that meeting. But I think that having some sort of personal connection to or relatability helps build that more too. And
Yeah,
you can leverage other people on your team for that as well.
I definitely think it's all about relationship building. And I find that the ISVs have to give a lot more than they take.
Yeah.
I think I try to encourage my sales team to think in forms of networking in regards to building relationships versus transactional thinking. When because I think everybody knows when they're becoming a transaction, they're not stupid. The customer part, they all know. This email has zero personality or meaning, or there's no intrinsic innate content there. So the relationship between the rep and their partner, or me and the partner, needs to be very conversational and connect with purpose, versus treating them like a transaction because it's eternal.
And a lot of them still do that too.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
is.
because we all face the end of the quarter or the monthly meeting where we've got to shore up our data, improve our points, improve our value, because it lives in a report. But to get to there, you need to think in terms of relationship, which is a little more involved than
It's more work.
the $50 gift card. That's a transaction. That's the value is over as soon as they get right. So I try to encourage the thinking that is providing value that is thought-provoking and meaningful in a long game versus a transaction, which is very short-term thinking.
Yeah. I think that goes hand in hand with, all of these initiatives of like, you're exactly right. You have to build that rapport. And sometimes it's hard. I've been in awkward situations too with partners where, I don't know, it's kind of awkward in the beginning, but once you do build that, foundation, it does become easier. Maybe going to, group events together or putting something on together that benefits both of you, I think is great. Like a co-marketing piece, you're both getting in front of each other's eyeballs, for free basically, and
Mhm.
giving in that sense. We've seen that have a really nice ROI if you have the same value, same message, same goals for that. That can be a really nice piece to the building the relationship as
Well,
well.
hey, and then you get to know like them personally. Like, are they
Yeah.
married? Are they not? Do they have kids? Do they have dogs? Do they have cats? Like, and then send them a birthday card on their birthday. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like it really has to get to that level nowadays because there's so much noise out there and we're all competing for the same people to listen to
Yes.
us. So we really have
Yeah.
to come up with different ways to reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a very small world.
Mhm.
Like it or not, my husband's also in sales, so
And
he-
dog lovers, who wouldn't love dog things, like I'm
Right.
just like, it's just, get human
Yeah.
aspect. It's the human aspect of it all.
my
No, it's so
husband
true.
is in sales, and he, at the end of the quarter and the end of the month, there's always this, drama in our house, and so, but he's in a different field, electrical engineering, and so when the supply chain stuff was going on and people were fretting and the deliverabilities and the prices went up, they escalated, and so I think we saw it in everything. Instead of $2 something, now everything's $8, the same thing, the same product. And he was in a conversation and I overheard part of it, and it was through a partner branch facility, and they said, we may win this one deal before the end of the month, but we will lose the customer for life. So we need to remember what we're generating this month versus the life of this particular customer. So that reminded me, like, yeah, when we think in terms of end of month and one deal here or there, then we cost ourselves a relationship overall.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's the relationship piece overall. That's a really good story. It could be fun too at the end of quarter,
Mhm.
end of month, like bringing things in and then you may lose some things, to your point. That's a nice way to phrase it. Okay. And then to wrap up, the last piece is measuring. So it sounds like there's some folks who have portals. I'm sure some folks do this manually. I'm looking at it from two angles. So one is, this was taken a couple weeks ago, but I think there are the 4 horsemen, and I heard someone else say this the other week as well, of any go-to-market motion. There's inbound, outbound, anything that your sales reps bring in, and then there's partner. And you really need that partner generation, especially right now, building these relationships with a better CAC, whatever it may be, that's important to your board, but showcasing this every leadership call, or every weekly status that you guys have, however you show metrics, I think it's important. Specifically around our internal partner program, you'll notice that there's no target for partner generated, and that's because we are waiting to hire a full-time partner person. So myself and our VP of CX didn't want to commit to a pipeline without having full-time resources there. So we're already starting that, setting expectations with how to think about partner or think about pipeline from the partner source. This number has gone up since I took the screenshot, but it's a nice way to show week over week, what are the changes? How did the partner deal come in? I think it's a good point you bring up. Like, it's all about relationships. If you can tell that story of, hey, we had this partner, we got to know them over this experience, this is what they're doing for us. It kind of brings that emotional element into the leadership call, the management lens as well. So talking about it more and more, I think is really helpful. And then from, Liz, sounds like you guys have a portal thinking about how you look at leading and lagging indicators and how you actually communicate some of these metrics. I know from a marketing perspective, I'm responsible for showing, what our MQL metrics are all the way to close one. And I hate showing that to the board, but they want to see what those leading indicators will create as in terms of close one. It's the same with partners. So how many partners are engaging with you? Are they, sharing content? Are they coming in to request MDF, whatever it may be? And are those partners more apt to, close a deal with you or refer deals? So I think being able to tell that story with the breadcrumbs is getting more and more important right now. And it's really exciting to share that with management or whoever you report to, that, hey, this is what our partners are doing. This is what they're interested in. Let's do more and invest more in what we're doing here. So that is the measuring piece. And I can go into that a bit more, but I'm curious how everyone kind of measures success here. Is it, through a model on a spreadsheet? How do you guys kind of typically look at that?
Mine is a good old spreadsheet.
We
No
use
shame.
Salesforce campaigns to measure success as far as like from a transactional perspective, as well as a activity perspective.
Okay.
So any activity we do with a partner, we create a campaign for. And then we also track campaigns by partner, sales, and then marketing. And so we can kind of see which ones are coming in as, I call them responses versus leads, because we're more concerned about leads than we are about sheer numbers of leads. And then how many of those convert to opportunities, and then how many of those convert to close one. And then we can kind of see those conversion ratios from MQL all the way to close as well. But we also have some things that we track internally with our partners. So for example, a leading indicator would be, are they on a marketing plan with us? So we have a field in our Salesforce account that tracks whether or not they're in a marketing plan. In past lives, we've tracked whether a partner has been trained by us, right? If we had partner trainings to kind of determine whether or not we're actually engaging with them. And then if those two things have happened, what type of activity are we seeing from them? Are they doing campaigns with us after the fact and driving revenue through those activities? And then are they referring leads to us that are turning into close one deals and actually becoming transacting partners?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, the Salesforce campaigns definitely work. And that's a great way to understand, I think, multi-touch as well, like how many things are touched along the way. Yeah, that's really nice.
We do the same, Liz. Heavily rely on Salesforce campaigns for sure.
Yeah.
And then campaign member status, so we can see what type of, whether the quality of leads that we're getting potentially. But then all the way from lead to conversion to opportunity creation to customers. So you can get really granular with it. And then the campaigns, there's a hierarchy to them as well, if you want to put that in place. But same as Liz, we have a partner field to capture which partner was bringing it to us, publisher, technology, and then even another layer, which rep potentially. So if it was a referral, so we can see, know which reps are bringing us more opportunities from that team.
We track the rep too. Yeah, good call, Whitney. The other thing you just made me think of is in our campaigns, we identify what type of marketing. So is it a webinar? Is it newsletter? Is it paid digital, unpaid digital, a direct mail? So we can see not only within the partner bucket, what activities within our partner or ecosystem are driving the most revenue or have the highest ROI based on the spend.
Do you use then Salesforce communities or PRM which PRM do you use and how does that tie?
No, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. We use in partner.
Okay.
Which I know is a
Yeah.
competitor to yours, but yeah.
No, it's fine. Yeah, because
Allbound is a great PRM. So for those, anybody that's on the call that's looking at a platform, I'm very familiar with your solution, and I think it's great. We just needed a few more bells and whistles that you guys unfortunately didn't have. So
no, yeah, I was just thinking like the Salesforce campaign piece, and if that tied in with the Salesforce PRM. So
yeah, no.
okay.
And most people kind of get suckered into that because they're like, oh, let's use one platform. But Salesforce is a CRM company. They're not a partner company. That's my speech.
I'll quote you on that and
No
put
problem.
that out.
But isn't that the
And I am
same
the
thing,
biggest fan of
Liz?
Salesforce when it comes to CRM and sales management. So,
We
you
are
know.
too.
yeah.
Yeah, we used them. Well, that was all I had. Anything else or any questions or
Well, thank you, Tori. That's awesome. I appreciate you being
Yeah.
on this month.
yeah, this was so fun.
I
I'll
have one
connect with
question. Liz, do you are campaigns required in Salesforce?
Everything. You can't create a lead or a contact or an
I'm
opportunity.
gonna ping you because
Yeah.
I don't know how to require that right now, and I need that required.
Oh, I can tell you how, if you have access to your admin, I can show you how to turn it on.
I am the
in
admin,
back
so
end.
thank you.
Yeah. You
Nice.
can't do anything in our environment without it. And if you don't make it required, it just doesn't get
I
populated.
remember doing
know, I
that.
have
Some
to-
other company.
I have
like
to
you,
check like
Liz.
weekly to
I
say
know.
like, hey, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to steal it. Thank you so much, Tori. That was really awesome.
No, this is great. I'll connect with you guys on LinkedIn and, continue the conversation as everything unfolds. It was so nice to meet you. Thanks for
Yes.
having me.
And Tori and I did a podcast episode, which I know is going to
It's
launch
coming
soon,
out
right,
this
Tori?
week. Yes.
So stay tuned for that. We did a podcast episode with Allbound, and then she was on my podcast not too long ago too. So
Hey, good stuff. Well, thank you guys again.
yes, thank you everyone for joining this month. I truly appreciate it. I'll send out the recording for those of you who had to jump off or arrived late, so you'll have the whole thing. And we'll see you all next week. I mean, next month, and or a webinar working on together. So yeah,
See ya.
Thanks for
Thank
coordinating,
you.
Amy.
thanks everyone.
Thanks, Tori.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye.